I'm Diego Cordovez with Adam Schoenfeld. I'm The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. And in the last 12 months, Kenny Tran, who's been around for a while very successfully, has really emerged because he made the final table of the 50K horse, he made the final 2 tables of the main event, and then he spent a year cleaning up in the live games, by all accounts, just winning millions of dollars. And then he showed up at the World Series this year, and right away he wins the Heads Up, which is one of the most prestigious events, I think.
That's got to be one of the best.
No Limit Heads Up. And he stormed through and he won 2 matches to none in the final. And
what I like about Kenny is that even though he's a young guy, he's an old school poker player, and he's not your traditional internet hotshot. He's a live game player.
His whole education's been in the live games, and he's still a little averse to the internet game, so it makes the whole thing that much more interesting. So last year you had a deep run in the main event, and we had your buddy Roy Winston on, and he talked about the famous hand that they showed on ESPN a whole lot, which is where he fired 3 barrels on a scary board because it came with 3 hearts and then a 4th card on the turn, and he didn't have a flush and you didn't have a flush, and you called him down all the way with the second pair. So he gave us his perspective, but what was going on in your head during that hand? Because that was a super gutsy play and turned out to really be important as far as you accumulating some chips and going forward.
Well, I played a few times with Roy Winston in the Cats game, and he gave me a lot of respect, and I knew that he's a very conservative guy, and he would not play reckless against me out of the position,
right.
And mostly when he bet with me, he have really big hand or the big draw, or he had a big hand and I outraw him and stuff like that. The only time the big money going in.
But in this case, he didn't.
But in this case, you take a look at the hand. That's he plays through the whole hand. Every single bet, it didn't make sense. Because the only thing is to make sense before flop, and after that, it didn't make sense.
For people who just need a reminder, you guys were both in the blinds. Roy was in the small blind, and he came in. I think he just limped in or made a small raise, and you called.
He raised before flop, and I make the call.
Right.
And I remember the board was 8-7 drag, 3 heart.
All hearts.
All heart. He bet 150.
You had an 8 though.
I have ace-8.
Right.
Yeah.
And my call right here is a very standard. It's fine.
Right.
I smooth call because
I
was in the position, and that's fine.
Right. At the very least, you got to see what happens next.
Exactly. So turn came with small heart, and he fight 350. And right here, it's already to ring the bell to me and say, what's going on? He have to put me if I call him on a flop. Could I have an ace of heart? But let's say if I didn't have an ace, let's say if I have an ace of heart, $350,000 bet right there is definitely not a correct play. He know how to play poker. He not some first time player. Had a big hand, fired the big bullets, want to win a big chip. He wanted to grind me out, or he wanted to check and give me a chance to bluff him.
So his bet was too big at that point.
His bet, it didn't make sense for me, and now the river was pair board. And let's say if he have enough flush, then he think that I could have a full house. He fired out 700,000 on river, which is most of my chips. I think what went through his head is he knew that I always think he's a really conservative. He probably never bluffed me before, by the way. He probably think that I knew that he's a very conservative guy, would not be so reckless. But after all that, the player that didn't realize one key part about this hand is I hold ace-8, but I hold an ace of diamond in my hand. And to every single poker player, it doesn't matter who you are, you must look back at your card if you have the red ace. And it's only one red ace left. And that's the ace of heart.
Right.
But throughout the whole hand, if you look at a video, he never looked back at his hand.
Wow. So
that was a big part of your.
That was the big key in that hand. That the ace of diamond in my hand. It's not about his hand or not about anything.
Right.
It's about my card that I have the ace diamond, and he never looked back at his card.
So even though Roy had never bluffed you before, and you played with him in Los Angeles in big cash games, you went to that next level and you thought he knows that.
Exactly. I went to the one level above of poker that we live with, to my read that an average poker player. I mean, especially Roy's, he mid-40, conservative guy. If you conservative people, you would take time and look back your car and how to execute the hand, how to get the money out from this guy. If you have a nut, you would not act so recklessly and not care about anything.
So you had the Ace of Diamonds and just the size of his bets and maybe the speed of his bets, and he didn't look back. That all built the picture for you.
Everything built together, but the key to determine that hand is the Ace of Diamond in my hand, and he did not never look back at his
That's
card.
really interesting to me. How long did you think? Because on TV they might have shown only part of how. When you were thinking, did you think for 5 minutes? Did you think for 2 minutes?
Well, on the turns, when he made that bet, it didn't make sense to me. That's when he didn't look back at his card.
Right.
And then on the river, when pet a ball, I already determined that, let's say if I was wrong, that he have, well, of course, if he have ace, queen, and a heart in his hand, he don't have to look back.
Right.
But now, after pet a ball, didn't he think that, I mean, I'm a very conservative guy, and I'm very, normally I'm very dangerous in this position. I could outplay him, or I could do something crazy, but pet a ball, is that like ring the bell to him that, I mean, I could have full house?
Right.
Did you think a long time on the river? On camera, they don't make it seem like it's that long, that you called pretty quickly, but did you stare him down and try and get a read?
I was trying to make sure, I mean, my read and my feeling and my instinct for that. I mean, should I go with that? I mean, because that, like, if I lose that hand, it's pretty much over for me because most of my chip is gone. And I say, you know what? I mean, every time I go against my instinct, 10 out of 10 times I'm wrong. Right. And every time I go with my instinct, and I can live with that. I mean, if I'm wrong, I can live with it. And so I go with my instinct, and fortunately, I got lucky and I was right.
You had a
That's
great...
not luck.
No, especially not in this case.
I mean,
because you knew the player also. I mean, that's the one thing that people on TV miss, which is you guys have played against each other a lot in the cash game, so there's a lot of history and context to the whole hand.
The only thing that might be a little bit of luck is that he might have been bluffing because you read he was bluffing, but had some small heart in his hand. Right.
Well,
that's the danger, isn't it?
That is not happened because I already knew that he didn't have a red card in his hand. If it's in this is very standard.
Right.
If he look back, he have a heart in his hand. He might just check and turn the hand over and win the pot.
Right. Yeah.
And the only thing I'm concerned that he didn't look back at his card. He may have like 2 black 9 or 2 black 10 and turn over and had the best hand and it looked like an idiot on the TV.
Right. He might be trying to get you off a small heart and be bluffing with the best hand, which would be a terrible accident.
Yeah, but I mean, that's very standard for all the play. If you in heads up, if you have a heart in your hand, just check and turn over.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
There's no value of betting there. It's clearly just all about bluff.
Especially against an aggressive player who you know might try to take it away from you.
Yeah, but this is before come to this hand. Roy reputation is like a tightest player ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just chose that time, and I have a feeling that he picked that time to put the pressure on me because it's a main event. It's a big tournament, and I did not want to go out. The tournament make like some reckless call and stuff like that. Right. But he didn't really like that. I mean, it doesn't matter with any tournament, big or small. I go with my read, and I do and die with my read.
You made a phenomenal run, and you made it down to the final 2 tables, and actually you went out on another call against a player who ended up making a flush against you. Was this a similar situation, or were you just too committed in terms of the chips?
No, it's not that. I mean, right before he make that call, I bet on a turn. I remember I have queen 10. He make that call on a turn. My read on him is he had straight draw and flush draw, and 110% I read that.
Yeah. And
just like I say, this is where I come down to my mistake, and I pay for the price that I second guess myself. That's when he called a clock on me. When I studied him,
on the river.
And on the rivers, I already determined that's it. I gave up my hand. And when he moved in, when the flush came,
because the flush card came on the river and he let into for all his chips.
I determined to fold already, but I say, let me think about this. And then right after he called, after I took for a while, he called a clock on me, and now I say, wait a minute, why would he call a clock? on me if he have a flush. I mean, he want me to call him on that, but then now I second guess myself, and then I call and I make the mistake.
So calling the clock on you really
It would completely
it gave you like a reverse psychology.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I never know what it means when someone calls the clock, and it sort of, I don't want to say it tilts me, but it's confusing because you don't.
It was confusing.
Yeah.
It's completely threw me clock, but I guess it was meant to be, and I pay for my price.
Well, I wonder, sometimes I wonder whether he called it really thinking ahead, trying to think on that additional level, like you talked about before, or whether he was just tired and called the clock because
No,
You might have to go to the bathroom.
you don't know.
Right.
I think he's before that. I mean, before dinner break, he already do some research. I'm kind of player that I like I read my opponent. I don't play hand.
Right.
I like my opponent, and he might realize that if I take long time enough, I'll figure it out. I'll have to read him, and so he wanted, put that pressure on me and get out. But
Yeah, it's too bad, but it was still a big success, and just kind of
it was
triggered a whole
it was really
year.
disappointing. It was really disappointing. I got out last night. Yes.
But then you came back, and this year you've already won a bracelet in Heads Up No Limit. So
That has to be one of the best events to win, one of the most prestigious. Walk us through that.
Yes, I came into the World Series this year. It's totally different mentality, not like last year. I mean, last year, like when I got deep into the horse or the World Series, I kind of pumped up and got carried away. But this, I mean, after I won like the 4th and 5th match, I think I was like completely focused and put 110% of myself and do not make the same mistake like last year.
Right. I mean, one thing that's interesting is there's a lot of heads-up play on the internet. I mean, it used to be that you could never get heads-up experience because it was very rare to find a situation where someone was going to play you long-term heads-up no limit. And even today, it's not very common to go to a casino and find that game. So kind of the favorites in that event are all these internet guys who play on the heads-up tables online and have a lot of experience at that. You're really, kind of an anomaly in that your bread and butter is still the cash games live, not so much on the internet. I don't see you playing on the internet that much relative to live. And a lot of your opponents, a lot of the guys who made it to the quarterfinals, semifinals were these young internet guys, but you beat them. So did you have to adjust your play a lot, or was it kind of a different experience, or was it different for them, the fact that now they're in a live setting?
Yes, before I come to that event that I already knew with 256 players, I would have to see maybe like 150 of them, like young gun online players. I mean, I just know that in my mind,
Right.
but I already have a set of my how to play with the young online player and a set of my how to play with like the cash game player.
And what's the difference in your...
A difference is, I mean, you cannot play the game that they play. And when you play with them, they like to speed up. They like to go fast. They like to, make the season like boom, 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 boom. Because that's how they play online. They play 5, 12 games, 10.
Right.
I don't know how many games they play.
Sometimes more, yeah.
Depends how much drug they take. They play this every day, and now if you get into that, you play like a lot of race on a pre-flop or like fast this season. Now you play the game, but when they play with me, I want them to play my game. I want them to every part they win for me. They have the heart to like get out from the chest.
That's awesome.
I have to make them like think that I want to check and raise them,
Right.
and now I want to call them, or I want to fold. I want them to like think like.
And even if
I want them to be confused.
Even if you're going to fold, you're going to take a long time and make them
Yeah,
sweat.
even I mean, and then I can see that. I mean, and this young player, I mean, know that I can tell you right now, I will run dead against them online. I have no shot. Because I never see their body language. I mean, they play every single hand so correct and so perfect.
They know all the odds.
They know all the odds. They
ranges,
know everything. But the only the mistake is like they cannot sit still. They cannot be like calm and relaxed. And even they act weird when they have a hand. When they have a hand, I mean,
Really? So they did have a lot of tells.
It's a lot of tell because still poker is when it comes down to all the experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe, I mean, they don't have that much experience in the live game.
I think that's awesome that you were able to use the advantages that you have from your specialty in live cash games to be. These guys are great. They're great.
Oh, it's
but
no question.
You found the element to turn against them, and I think a lot of people don't think about that. Mm-hmm. They might look for tells, but you had that plan going in. You're going to take your time and just make them sweat.
I have to cry them and make them feel so boring. The key thing is to make them feel like being with me is like in hell.
It's like they're being tortured. Like
they feel like torture time and time. But yeah.
Did you observe the fact that they were just becoming frustrated or impatient, and that led to some bad plays on their part directly?
They are, well, especially the guy in the semifinal, the match number 7, I think, I can see it right on his face, his frustration. That's, first, when we started the match, he won 10 hands out me straight, 10 hands straight.
Yeah.
But now he thought that he can run over me.
Right.
As I kept playing out hand, but he didn't realize that I wanted to see that hit betting pattern. I mean, when he had the hand, or when he didn't have the hand, how much he bet, and I want him to feel like, okay, I can run over Kenny Tran. And that's one hand, he actually raised me in the dart. I mean, the guy raised me in the dart, and of course I re-raised him in the dart, stuff like that. But he didn't know that. And after like 2 hours into the match, I can feel like the heat come over in his face, and he burned, and he make a mistake.
Right.
I think it come to the last hand. That's he opened a pot, and I re-raised him, and he shipped it in with he shipped all in for like almost $1 million in chips, and I had 2 jack. I think for a long time I said this is the time right here. I mean, for sure that this guy, he can't take it no more. He want to get out. He want to gamble, and so I call him 2 jack. He have king 8 offsuit. I mean, there's no chance in the world he will make that play online.
I mean, you've had a big year in terms of making the final table of the horse, having that deep run in the main event last year. But I think a lot of people don't even realize, people who aren't really in the poker world, that your main games are the cash games. I mean, you've really made a reputation as one of the, if not the most successful, no-limit cash game player day after day, especially down in LA. And Brandon Adams was here talking about the fact that not only are you such a successful player, but you're playing in a lot of home games, where you're invited, big money home games. And Barry Greenstein was telling us how it's very hard for him to get into these games, but people want to play with Kenny Tran even though they know that you're such a good player and so successful. So how do you pull that off?
Well, you see, I mean, when I'm in a casino, it's different than when I'm playing those home games, because in a home game, I basically like be there for the entertainment, have fun. I join the group. I mean, I have to be like very affable guy. I mean, I'm not like throwing a car or be upset.
No, of course. And do you play differently too?
I play different. I play fast. I make some amazing plays that completely blow their mind off. I mean, there was never in their lifetime that they will make that play.
Like, for example.
All right, let's go back. For example, there's the hands that I remember. So like last year, I played in this hand. I don't remember exactly what happened, but on the end, I end up on the turn. I check and raised at him with king high, king queen high, king jack high, and he re-raised. I call him to playing that to make the play on the river.
Right.
Was because there's 2 flush draw out there straight.
Right.
And so I got lucky in the river. I got paired up. So now I check and let him bluff. And so he fires all in. So I call him on the river, this is in kind of boring 1500 game, no limit.
Okay.
And so I call him, and I turn over king jack, hit a pair, and the guy said, "This is the guy that you guys think is the greatest cash game player." I mean, he called me all the way, and he back with me with king high, and his raise on the turn is okay. He called me with king high. You think it's the greatest play? I want to play with you. Heads up for $1 million suit up. I say, I didn't say nothing. I want to say, I say, that's fine. And then so anyway, so we end up, you know what? Let's not play for just a very friendly game. We end up play 200,000 heads up.
Okay.
And this guy, I mean, talk about like in the cash game, he's supposed to be really good for the game. So anyway, so we end up play 2,000 no limit heads up.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big, and I got lucky a bit for a couple of big 100 units. So.
It's funny how you're always getting lucky.
Well, you know, it's if it wasn't for luck, Phil Helmuth will win every single tournament.
And if it weren't for luck, you'd win every single cash game.
No,
But on this hand with the King Queen, you think that he didn't even realize that you'd called on the turn to make a play on the river? Did he think that you're calling just to try to hit a pair?
he would thinking I make that guy call because I was a donkey.
Right.
That's what I mean. Right?
He's
not even giving you credit for the other part. He's thinking this guy's calling all these chips just to catch a pair on the river.
No. They would not think like that.
So
it's funny.
You played the huge no limit cash games, but you're also really good at the mixed games.
I play. See, I don't have I'm not like special in any game. I just play the game that's when the player have a lot of cash on the money on the table and play bad. I don't care what game they play.
Mm-hmm. But you feel comfortable playing the other limit games too?
I feel very comfortable playing any limit game. Yes, I mean if it's a good game, I will willing to play.
In the horse, is there one game that you don't like, or that's your worst game?
Well, I have to say, because before I become a no limit player, I also play on the mixed game in California at Common Casino. That's where the game day in day out. And the game that I play very rare and the least is the stud.
Yeah.
But I still throw in a couple hours, sometime here and there at the game. But I have to say, probably my least game is stud.
May be important because if the no limit actually starts to dry up, then a lot of these mixed games are going to become more and more important.
When the no limits start game dry up, it would be the PO game, baby. Parliament Omaha, I think that's really
the new high game.
That will be the next high game, or maybe the no limit deuce, but I doubt it.
Yeah, that's right. Now they had over the summer, people that might not even realize they were playing no limit deuce to 7 single draw down in LA when the tournament was going on for high stakes. So that's like going back to the 60s and 70s playing that game.
Yeah, now it's just like a turnaround. But I still think the no limit game it will be there for a while because it's the game that is always like an inch in people. They always lose by an inch, an inch. And you know, when you lose by an inch, I mean, you always feel it's like an itchy that you need to scratch. Right. But it will never go away.
Well, we know you're going to be there dominating those games and also making your mark here at the World Series.
So, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully it'll keep going up.
Hopefully another big run in the main event too. It's probably
that's
ambition.
I mean, it's just a really big disappointment. It's a big letdown to my friend, my family, and especially myself. Got knocked out. That's
no, but that was a tremendous.
There's always this
people
year
dream to get that far,
right.
And now you've got another, many tries at it. So
you
always
come
better.
back. You always have one try every year.
Anyhow, thanks for coming by, Kenny. Good luck to you. It's been interesting just to hear about all you're thinking in these events. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thanks, Guy.
Thanks for joining us at The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Make sure to write us at thescoop@cardplayer.com and look for us on Card Player TV.
2 bracelets. Awesome.
Well, these aren't easy to win. Remember this one like it was yesterday. My opponent had me down to my last. Sorry. Anyway, it's down to my last few chips. So I had to call.
We play at FullTiltPoker.com.